Project number one, what you're going to do is you're just simply going to produce a video with different shots. The shots should actually consist of an establishing shot, a medium shot, a close-up, and an extreme close-up. I want each of the shots to actually last 10 seconds in length. So that way it allows us to see the shots, evaluate what we're looking at. Also, when we get to the point where we start discussing, okay, what do we get from this establishing shot? We can talk about it. When we get into the part of the medium shot, what are we getting from the medium shot? We go in and we start to talk about what is happening with the close-up. We can look at it, we can evaluate it, we can discuss it, and it'll still be on there. And then lastly, on the extreme close-up, again, allows us to look at that, what are we getting from it, and talk about even the emotions that go into it. This isn't designed to be a super difficult project. This is designed really just to get you working the equipment you're going to use. So what camera are you going to use? Getting used to if you need to stabilize it. Do you need to get some sort of simple little tripod to mount your camera, your phone to, so you can shoot that? After you collect the video, how do we get the video then into the system so that we can bring it into Premiere? How do we go through and edit them down to 10-second clips? Once we edit them 10-second clips, how do we get them into a sequence? We put them into the sequence. Audio-wise, you have choices with the audio. If you want to, you can just ignore the audio and put a basic generic soundtrack behind it. Doesn't matter to me. The key on here is that you're able to capture footage, import footage into Premiere Pro, create a project, create a sequence, edit the footage into a sequence, ultimately export it out to a video file, and then upload that video file to a location so that we can go in and see that end file. That is all this is. Now, what are we talking about on the shots? There's a handout that's inside of there to go through and look at what's here. Now, what we don't have on here is the establishing shot. The establishing shot is just a really long-range shot allowing us to identify a location, a setting. So if we go through and we start to think about, we're doing this shot of an old, rugged town. We know that that's where it's taking place at, and then we cut into somebody inside of a saloon in that rugged town. We know that's where they're at, even if they are sitting in some sort of a stage in Hollywood. It looks like they're in that location. So that's really what we're looking at for the establishing shot. That's going to give us the setting. What happens when we go through and we do an establishing shot is that gives us location. A lot of times it's going to give us then even like an era, so we start talking about timing. And it's going to set up a little bit of the emotional side as to where are we going into. There's a big difference between if we're looking at something in a rundown building versus this giant mansion versus, again, if we look at a pioneer type town. What's happening with that? What are we going to expect? And how does it play into it? So we look at that. That's the big shot. From there, then we're going to go in here to our medium shot. Now we're talking about the medium shot. We're talking about the waist up on a person. So it's going in here to help identify exactly who is the person. We're going to get the close-up. Now when we start to get the close-up, it's coming in on a person for a reason. What are we trying to look at on this? And then the extreme close-up goes in and focuses on one fine detail. What is it we're trying to notice on this? So if I go through and I think of a film that still I wish I could find a copy of it. It's the show, and these guys go through and it talks about the one guy's all about his car. All he did was make a bunch of money. His other friend didn't, and he's all about this car. And the one guy takes the car the one day, steals it. He gets killed in an accident. Well, in the first shot, we go through the establishing shot of it. It goes out and it shows the intersection from this long view away. And you're like, well, what's the importance of the intersection other than the fact that after it comes at the end of the movie, and you identify the fact that they're trying to show you it's the location where he died. They're just trying to show how remote it was. He's out here essentially by himself, and then it moves in a little bit closer, and you can tell that there's a flashing light, and the lights are flashing, and you're not really thinking much about it. You're like, oh, okay, there's a light there, and then it moved in to the light, got right up towards the light. You're like, there's two flashing, and then it zooms right in. You can realize both lights are flashing green or yellow. I don't remember on it now, but they're flashing. So here, the whole basis on that was you set up the scene, the location and stuff. The whole thing of based on the movie was the one guy thought he stole his car, and then when he killed himself in the car. When what happened was he actually just took the car out for a drive and got hit by a semi because both had clearance to go through the intersection. But you're developing that, and when you talk about the narrative, that's what you're doing. You're controlling. You want to get the people thinking, want to get the people seeing. So going in on that extreme close-up. The other thing this is going to do is by going through these shots, again, you're working with your camera. Can you zoom in with your camera to catch each of these shots by setting it in one location? Or do you have to move your camera to get these other specific shots because of what's there? The other thing is, instead of the camera moving, does your subject, if you're dealing with a person for most of the stuff, for the medium shot, close-up, and extreme close-up, can the person move to the camera? What happens with that? So this is the first chance for you to really get into working with the stuff and knowing that, hey, I think this will work great. You set it down, then you realize that even on the tripod you have set right now, you have to be careful because if it's somewhere, it might still vibrate, and we see that. Can we take stuff out? Yes. We'll get into a part inside of Premiere where we are actually able to go in and stabilize the camera. So we'll get to that point eventually, but just be aware that if you focus on capturing good footage, just like I teach in a Photoshop class, go and shoot the image you need so you don't have to spend 5 hours editing the image to get it to there. Shoot what you need and then bring it in. It'll be much better. Same thing here. Capture the best video we can of the stuff, and we can do some corrections inside of Premiere. Like I said, this isn't designed to be a real brain buster project. This is just to get you going in here and working. If we go through and we start to look at it, we're assigning it today. This isn't due until February 22nd because we're going to get in and continue to work our way through Premiere. So make sure that you're playing with stuff camera-wise. Maybe you have multiple cameras you might use. You can feel free in this project, realistically, maybe you're going to use multiple cameras to test out which one you like bringing the footage in, which one is easier to bring the footage in. I've had students in the past who've essentially shot one whole project on one camera, shot the whole project on another camera, and maybe even a third camera, and they brought them in and actually done all three of them just to be able to see which one was easier to work with, bring it in, so that as they went through the semester for the other projects, it actually went through and they had a much easier workflow with it. So with that, on the 22nd, we're going to watch those in class. I know they're going to be super exciting. But what it does is it allows us to look at how each person chose to shoot the stuff, what was working, what worked better. And you'll also see that there'll be some of you that will decide a full narrative as it goes through the whole story. And then some will go in and just shoot the shots to capture the shots. I'm not grading the narrative, but you can understand how much more exciting it is to sit there and see that there's a story behind the shots versus just being the shots. Now, if you have a story and you don't have a story, it's not going to change grade-wise. I'm still looking at it from a pure standpoint of, do you have the shots? Did you import the stuff? Did you meet the requirements for the 10 seconds? And did you end up having a finished product when this was done? For the titles, go ahead and label what each shot is. So just put simple text on there that just says establishing shot, medium shot, close-up, extreme close-up. If they're done accurately, should we be able to notice that right away what they are? Yeah. But just put it on there, because the other thing it gives you then is a chance to work with the titles. Just simply putting some simple titles on there. Just grabbing the text and dropping it in there. If you want to add transitions, you can. You don't have to. This is purely about getting together, running through the first project, the workflow of what it's going to be like when we go into the other assignments. Any questions?